Now we're live. Okay.
Hello.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to our Shade of the Evening Book Club. Have the Moni. She changed it back, but it was Marvelous, Magnificent, Mad. Moni G. I was about to say,
Sorry.
was there? Did I do something wrong?
No. It was me. It was all me.
And John, I don't know if you. Sorry, AU Pack Mule is in the house, and I'm so happy to have him here. Thank you for coming. And also wanted to let you guys know that, yeah, pretty much everyone does in the chat. Moni's birthday was a couple of days ago. So she and I are having a little toast for that.
Cheers,
She's got
everybody.
and all that kind of stuff. And hello to everyone in the chat. Miss Duncan, Robbie. Now Amanda, the fearless. Oh, maybe she was able. Maybe she's able to drop in and out. Peter's here too. Okay. Yay. All right. So we finished the last one, the last story, the Sworn Sword. Not the last story. Sworn Sword.
The Sworn Sword. That's so hard to say.
Last week. And oh, I gotta turn my volume down too. Sorry about that. Oh my God, it's Branwick Blackwood. Yay! Okay,
hi,
I'm really excited
Branwick.
about that. Yay!
Yay!
Sorry, John. We just haven't talked to him in a long time.
Cheers.
And yes, Moni just had a birthday. Okay,
Hooray.
So we're starting the Mystery Night, which is the third novella, and I'd heard there was a fourth one, and I wish he would release it, and maybe he hasn't because there's information he doesn't want told. I don't know, but it'd be nice for something to have while we're waiting on The Winds of Winter. So in the Mystery Night, I found it to already be very somber and foreboding, and it's the same way that, and I gotta say hello to everybody in a second. Same way we started The Sworn Sword, with dead guys or a head or, you know, something gory. And they're leaving the Stony Sept. And I did write down some history of that place. And really one of the main things was Robert's Rebellion. That's where he hid out when John Connington was trying to root him out. And I think Barristan Selmy helped hide him. And then one other thing was it was the gathering place for Aegon and his sisters right before the Field of Fire. So, and I want to say something happened with Brienne there, but I just can't remember what those exact things are. And Eggs used his old straw hat to keep the rain off Maester's head, and he cut ear holes in it, and it matches the new one that he's got. So they're leaving out of there, and that's when they see the head above there, above the gate as they're leaving. And the Dunk talks about getting a head down off a spike, or his friend did, and he ended up being the one to catch it. But basically, they chased all the girls around King's Landing with his head and made him kiss it until it turned black, and then they just threw it in a pot shop kettle. Like, that's just
okay.
So disturbing. And I wanted to say, Dunk was a pretty rotten kid. Like wow.
And remember that he was only 3 or 4 years old, because he was just like a little
older than that. I do. Just
I don't know.
Action. I don't
know. I've known some pretty rotten 3 and 4 year olds. If they were running around with the big kid, like, you know, like, so I mean, but
just his knowledge of the streets. I mean, I'm sure he had to learn early, but would he be 4? I don't know. I just see him more as like 9 or 10, possibly.
Yeah, but that's already when
I'm
he
sure
was
Cece
signed
knows
up with.
exactly how old he
That was
was.
when he signed up. Yeah, CC, help us. And by the way, we had some new friends come in.
I was gonna say
Maud Mary
hi to
One
him.
and Danny McKay and the Imagination Realm. Welcome. And ODTA or oh my gosh, I just OTDA.
OTDA. I don't know what
Like
the OT stands
dyslexia
for.
of the mind.
The DA stands for. So I'm
Oh, and
trying to say hello to
Marley.
everyone. Marley, thank you guys, everybody, so much for coming.
Yes, thanks, guys.
Really
But yes,
appreciate
what a
it.
rotten kid. And how gross was that? Like, so ew, like a rotten skull they tossed in the brown. I mean, that we've all heard that like it was always questionable stuff in the brown, but that's
yeah, pretty much
really
rat.
questionable. That's really gross.
What kind of meat is that?
Ooh, don't ask. Don't
Chicken.
ask.
It's just chicken. Everything tastes like chicken.
I'm
wondering if they saw him and took it out, but
well, imagine getting to the bottom of it, seeing a skull. Ooh. Horrible. Horrible.
George can write some pretty hard, like not like horror too, but horrible things that you just would rather not
contemplate.
Read about. Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at my Kindle. It was doing something weird earlier and like going ahead and reading the words and then switching pages. And I'm like, no, stop that. I need the pages.
Don't.
So this head, go ahead, Moni or John, if y'all
no. I just yeah, it was just
I'm sorry.
I couldn't believe how gross. I said, what a delinquent. That's my note. Gross, what a delinquent. That's my comment on this ruffian. And he said he is like worse than most. So, you know, when they were talking about when Rohan was bugging him about, didn't you have any girls to tease you? I was just like, yeah, he was doing the teasing, chasing them with like scary rotten heads. Ugh, gross. I can't imagine.
Yeah, I can picture that, Cece. I really, really can. The little birds.
The little bird. Yeah. So
yeah.
Luckily he didn't get captured and get his tongue ripped out. Because that was in our stories, not in the TV show, right?
Right. We saw him really and get his tongue ripped out, but not really. They didn't show that a lot. But bye, Amanda. Have a good night at work. So he's a septon, a holy man of the seven, even if he did preach treason. These are Dunk's thoughts. And then I'd really enjoy his sermon that he gives, if y'all don't mind me reading that. We're not gonna take a whole long time tonight, but yeah. His hands are scarlet with a brother's blood, and the blood of his young nephews too. The hunchback had declared to the crowd that had gathered in the market square. A shadow came at his command to strangle brave Prince Valor's sons in their mother's womb. Where is our young prince now? Where is his brother, sweet Materis? Where has Darren gone and Fearlord breaks? The grave has claimed them, every one, yet he endures. Is paired with the beak who perches on King Eris's shoulder and caws into his ear. The mark of hell is on his face and in his empty eye, and he has brought us drought and pestilence and murder. Rise up, I say, and remember our true king across the water. 7 gods there are and 7 kingdoms, and the black dragon sired 7 sons. So rise up, everyone, and cast down Bloodraven, that foul sorcerer, or your children and your children's children will be cursed forevermore. So that was that was a good sermon, and I went back.
That's what I said. Quite the sermon. That's what that was my other note on that page.
Looked up some of this stuff, and well, it might have been a little bit after, but you know, Dunk thinks that it's that every word was treason. And another good reason to put this town behind us. And so they leave, listening to the rain. And he thinks the riddle again. How many eyes does Lord Bloodraven have, and 1,000 eyes in one?
Yes.
That was something I wanted to put up from
the one I thought was really interesting he said about was a shadow came at his command to strangle the Prince of Valar's sons in their mother's womb. It was like, what? Shadow babies? 100 years prior to? Like, so that's not just red, the fire god magic that is, or right?
Possibly.
Because that's not in Westeros yet, right? It's just the 7.
No, not yet.
Or is it?
I mean,
because if they're having shadow babies kill,
the part where
shadow babies,
he can change into a dog or packs of gaunt gray wolves that hunted down his foes. That reminded me of the Nymeria wolf pack there.
Yes.
Because that's what was happening in the books, or was supposed to happen in the books, but never happened on the show. But I did look up Valar and Materys, and they both died during the spring sickness. Valar married Kiera of Tyrosh. It doesn't show any children. Then she marries Darren the Drunk, Egg's brother, and their child is Vaela the Simple Targaryen. So I don't know if Valar ever, his wife Kiera was ever pregnant or with boys or whatever, but that just that was the one kid she had with someone else. So let's see, where were we? Oh yeah, the packs of gaunt gray wolves. Most of the tales were only tales Dunk did not doubt, but no one could doubt that Bloodraven had informers everywhere. And then, okay, I've got some of the characters down. So let me go ahead.
Oh, okay. Just my comment was like Egg kind of like comments that, well, they were rebels, right? Or maybe he does later. But anyways, it was treasonous words, so it was kind of like, he deserved it, and it's bad. Like, and I love this part that Dunk says, it's bad business cutting off the heads of Septons. All he did was talk. And once again, we hear these wise words from our hero. Words are wind. And then Egg snaps back, like, some words are wind, sir, and some are treason. It's just like, oh, Egg has such a black and white view. And I think that is quintessentially what these adventures are supposed to be helping him with, right? To be able to have a broader perspective, because right now you can see that he's been so trained by the maesters and taught this is right and this is wrong, and he still has that very pure vision. I'm more of a gray color outside the line person, so
well, that's not
appreciate, but I mean, no, in Dunk kind of but he is more forgiving for sure, don't you think? I mean, he's got a more worldview, and he's from the wrong side of the tracks, right? Basically. Still is, but he's a good guy. It doesn't matter that he's a hedge knight. He's a good guy. So, did you want to talk about more of the people?
You're gonna get CC fired up.
Oh, John, I love it. Oh, is he? Oh my. So, and then I also noticed, at the very beginning of this, it said it was raining again, and then here it mentions how it was 6 days later it was raining. The rain was a memory. But it mentions how it's summer. So these are summer rains, because remember how they kept referring to the spring, but I was like, well, when did it? I mean, it was hot and it was a drought, so now it's official summer, and they're actually getting rain now, so that's a good thing. But it looks like their rain kind of lasts forever times too. Like, this weather in this planet is strange. Very strange.
George uses George uses repetition a lot, and I think that's so we become more more familiar with this world, this planetos, or what other people call it, that he is building, because this was after Clash of Kings. So he has decided, and to take things, because there's references back to Arya and other things. But go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think he does it to put us to sleep in the sense of when he gives us the nuggets, they're kind of hidden in a similar sayings. Like if I hear "clout your ear" one more time, I think I'm
Right.
gonna puke. But he said that over and over again. But in between that, you're gonna get a gem of real truth, just like the introduction of Bloodraven.
Totally agree.
Absolutely.
And Egg and Duncan have spent more time together, have been through more things together, and they're growing closer. I wouldn't necessarily, it's a father-son thing, but then it's also more like a big brother thing to me. Dunk being the big brother. Hello, Cat. Thank you for
Apparently
coming.
human. Yeah. Hello, Cat.
Yeah.
And Costume Co.
I know. I told Heidi.
Welcome.
I was like, please try to come. So that's very sweet of her.
So the next part, Egg or Dunk, they get over and they smell water. And I don't know if you guys know that smell too. Like I live in a lakes area, so you can smell the water or the rain, when it's coming. So, and then I just have a little note that Egg's like, all I smell is Maester, and he stinks.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't smell the lake. I smell the stinky donkey. Of course he did.
Yeah. Maybe the rain makes them smell worse, like my dogs. I don't know.
Oh, that's true.
Dunk does get onto Egg, teases him about being a proper princeling, because he's like, some words are wind, some are treason. He might have been a septon, but he was preaching lies. The drought wasn't Lord Bloodraven's fault, or the spring sickness. And Dunk's like, okay, well, that might be the truth, but if we start cutting off the head of every fool that's going to talk, then half the towns are going to be empty. So that's when he talks about the water and poor old Maester, and the old inn by the lake shore, where Sir Arlen says they brewed a very good ale. And before we get into it a little bit more, there was some interesting stuff I learned, and Radio Westeros was the thing I was listening to.
So good. All hail Gwen.
Yes. Before this, I was like, it's got to be the God's Eye. All I've heard about the God's Eye is Howland Reed's story, really. And he can't cross, nobody can cross. Hello, Kolnitsky. I'll get that straight. Thank you, guys. So I always thought it was a place where only Howland Reed had gone, but now I'm like, it's just got to be that island in the middle, the Isle of Faces, and not just the God's Eye. There's reference back to Arya in A Clash of Kings, and she describes the lake water, just like Duncan does, as beaten copper. And this is when she's with Yoren, and they go to an old holdfast or whatever, and there's a barn, and there's a hole underneath where they can get to the edge of the lake. And she also notices off to her left an inn built out onto the water on heavy wooden pilings. And this is all near Lord Haraway's town. But yeah, that's something that happens later, but he does go ahead and start talking about it in this book, and making a reference to something that happens 86 years essentially in the future. And I don't know where the line is.
The only, I kept looking at that map as well, and because of the events that come later in this story, we can't find the castle. But the only lake in this area is the God's Eye. And I would think that they could tell the difference between, he knows what a river is, because there's a bunch of rivers there that they could ferry across. Like they're not small rivers. So, but I just was like, that's the only lake. That's
Mhm.
so I unless there's another lake that got filled in, I don't know, over the 100 years, but that's the only lake that's still around or was around back then
Mhm.
and still around during our modern maps.
Carrie,
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Carrie, why do you think it was significant that George added that the similarities between Arya and Egg describing the God's Eye,
Maybe it was,
as far as the beaten copper?
as far as anything specific, I don't know if I can think of other than the fact that it was a line maybe that he just liked to use.
Do you
I'm
have
trying to
any take on it?
similarities, yeah, between the copper, the metal copper. But go ahead, please.
No, I was just wondering if you had one. Moni, do you have any reason why he would duplicate that line?
No,
Because it's a pretty unusual
I don't.
comparison, the beaten
Mhm.
copper to water.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, I
Not a metal or I can't say the word metal or metal. Blah, I'm not even gonna try anymore.
Metallurgy, yeah.
Thank you.
That.
yeah, nice.
Does that have
No, I
something
don't
to
know,
do-
and I don't know about I got stuck on in my research. I got stuck on the color plum and moonstone. I missed the pounding copper part. So my bad. But I've never really heard it described like that besides those two, and I think that's the only references like that, right? So
As far
but
as I know.
you got me. I'm sure there is some significant meaning, but I haven't heard it yet. The next part I just thought when they were talking about the money, because they're talking about the inn coming up, and then they start Eggs kind of hinted around about like, well, maybe we can have some food there, and then oh well, maybe we can sleep there. And so Dunk starts giving him the business about, oh, does the
Maybe you should have a
prince?
feather bed.
Right.
Yes, he needs a
Good
feather
Lord,
bed. And so
He's like,
right, and
"No,
it's just like, and he's
I
like,
just want straw.
no,
That's
but
fine.
it's like, yeah,
I just want a pillow."
right. And he's like, oh, so, but I thought that the way he talks about the coins for the ferryman, doesn't that sound really ominous? Like, I mean, it doesn't
Greek.
turn out ominous, but it just I guess reminds me of the ferryman in Hades or whatever who takes you to
Yes.
the netherworld, right? But yeah, I just thought that was kind of ominous. I mean, it's not really too much that they said, "Oh, here's another picture." Yay!
No, Moni shows the pictures. Yeah.
I know, and that's what makes it look
So
even better. It
these
has pictures.
okay. AU, did you have something about copper and water or something that you just wanted to ask, or
No, I had heard the
because now you got me
video
curious.
that Radio Westeros did, and I didn't hear anything from them that caused that similarity,
Ooh.
but they definitely read both takes on it. And I just assumed that when the sun is bright and the water is a little choppy, you get that beaten look. But for them to reference it the same way, especially with Arya, not necessarily being around the blacksmith as she should, and Egg definitely. I can't imagine him being around blacksmiths very much, but seeing that pattern, I just think that's pretty cool that they both did it.
Yeah, me too. I definitely. I know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to say.
I think this is backwards how you guys can see it. I'm not sure, but Gary Gianni does the illustrations, Heidi. So I know they're great, right? And I guess he read the books, and George just wanted a couple, and he's like, "Can I just illustrate the whole thing?" So I mean, that one is just like, when I first started reading the story, I was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I reading?" There's a skull on a spike, first page. Yuck. So
okay.
then
So
again, go ahead.
I was just gonna get to the innkeep and
well, once again, Egg talks about how, well, we could just use my boot, and he's like, your stupid boot again. Like, so he's constantly telling him, no, we can't use your boot. And what was the other one? Words are wind again. And he's like, we could, and he's like, but the word would spread, and words always spread. And that's what I said. Words are kind of like wind. Like, not only should you just pay them no never mind, but they float. Like, and the word gets around fast, right? So
yes.
another word about your bloody boot, and I'll clout you in the ear. Sorry, John, I said it one more time.
Was that the one where it's so hard he's gonna fly across the lake?
Yeah, you'll fly across the lake.
A good line.
And then we'll get and then dun, 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 they hear somebody coming up. And so they're like, ooh, let's go hide over here in the bushes. There are lords and there are lords.
Yeah, the innkeep won't give them any food because she's got lords there and she doesn't want to run out. And she tells them to go down.
Wait, are we there? Are we there yet? Because I thought they hid in the bushes. Where he's half naked and they're hiding in the bushes. Because they come up to him on the road.
Okay, I'm going from page 2.
And he had taken off his shirt.
No, they actually talk about the inn first. And
but I didn't think they got to the inn yet. They were just talking about it.
They're talking. Well, okay, you might be right, honey.
Well, yeah, just because the people come up and then they're all gonna go meet at the end, and then those guys actually end up going across on the ferry first, so they don't have a chance.
You got it, birthday girl.
But in the meantime, so they think that there might be marauders, remember? So they go and hide in the bushes. So there's Maester with his little hat, the donkey, and then the other 2 horses, Rain and Thunder, and then Dunk and Egg. And his very gruesome new kite-shaped shield that's made not out of oak, but out of pine. And it has a guy hanging on it. So that isn't his sigil. Obviously, he hasn't found anybody to repaint it yet. So these guys come up, and I guess they saw him go run in the bushes. But go figure, like 3 animals and 2 humans, I bet. So they're like, get out of there, you brigands. And of course. He's like, it's just me and my squire. And he's like, a squire? So that means you're a knight? Ha. And that's what then he says, I bet that's what all the robber knights say. And I was just like, do they usually have squires though? Do robber knights have squires? I bet they don't.
No.
I mean, that was just like one of the things I thought was
lords
kind of funny.
and lords, he's one of the latter. And the roads were not as safe as when good King Darren sat the Iron Throne, because Aerys is just not paying attention. He's not ruling. I'm sorry, my stomach keeps making noises. Possibly more into prophecy and things like that, or if it's true, Bloodraven telling him what he should be doing because he's the hand, and when that comes up later. And I did want to point out, I looked up that sigil, and the closest thing I found were the trance of Gallows Gray, and the difference is there's not a tree. But other than that, I couldn't find out anything else about it. Pine being stronger than oak, I would think not.
No, pine is a softwood. Oak is much harder. I mean, I think there's some softer oak, but oak is a hardwood.
It might get stuck,
and pine is very soft.
Yeah.
It's got to be more of a decorative thing,
and it breaks apart easily.
because it's definitely not going to shield.
Yeah, Branwick mentioned like it grows really fast. I mean, it looks really pretty, but it grows fast. It's not a real dense wood.
lighter,
So,
lighter in weight. Yeah.
oak, yeah, and oak is
Branwick.
small.
I'm so excited. Rand's here. He
I
didn't
know.
have.
Yay!
We haven't. I'm sorry, AU. We haven't talked to him in like since March. Oh my goodness.
Forever. So
He's been offline, right?
He really has.
Yeah.
He left. He
incognito.
he went out.
Yeah.
So they come galloping past, and it's two young lordlings. And they describe the horses, which turns out Moni knows a lot more about horses than I do, because I had to look up what type of horse a bay was and stuff like that. But that's one thing I love about Kindle is I can just press the word in it and it gives me the definition. So yeah, one on the bay, since I mentioned that, has the three tall plumes, white, gold, and red. And he's got the plumes on the thing on his horse's head, the crennet. And
Which
then there's
is that horse torture?
like dogs with
feathers. Like, you
with
know what I
pigtails.
mean? Yeah. Would he be embarrassed if he saw himself in the mirror? Maybe not. Maybe he thinks he's super fancy like that.
Oh, Brian, you're so wait, that's not the one he put.
And then
Hold
they
on.
said, so who are these two brigands? They keep bugging him again. And then that's when Egg bristles at the insult and says, "This is Sir Duncan the Tall, and I'm his squire."
Yeah.
And they totally ignored him like a croaking frog. I thought that was
fascinated
funny.
with the guy with the orange and three black castles.
Yeah. Like that, all of a sudden, like
I know him. I know him. I know him. Yes.
Right. And they're like, why do I know him? Because he's not really good with the heraldry. That's
right.
Egg's speciality.
And he's just so.
Did you notice that Lori popped in?
Yeah. Hi, Lori.
My Patronus is a dapple gray stallion. Oh,
Lori.
Thank you, John. Dave.
Yeah,
and a bay. And
you
a
can call
bay
me John.
is
It's okay.
Okay. Some people don't like me to get too personal, so I.
Oh no.
Okay.
Get personal, baby. It's a brown horse with black tips.
Still be like Cece and go, Mr. AU. That's funny.
She says "man" to me. I mean, she really does.
That's so cute. But I hope you're doing good, Lori. Hope everything's gonna be okay.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
She had Tropical Storm Isaias. I like that name.
Is there an S on the end? Because I was like, is that Isaiah? No.
It's Isaias. And like if you watch any news coverage, all the anchors have like practiced saying it, so they all like want to say it like Isaias.
That's like Rehoboam when I made Westworld videos. I had to like read, okay, am I saying this right? Am I saying this right? Anyway, I think
so.
Costume Heidi is going to do a video of Duncan Egg costumes, if I have that correct, Heidi. I'm not sure if you said that.
She released one today about the prequels.
I watched that.
Ooh, nice.
I watched that. So. If you want to post her,
so there were
would you mind posting her link, John?
Sure.
Thank you.
That would be awesome. So so there's this other guy who comes up and he's totally notices Dunk. Remember, Dunk doesn't have his shirt on. He's a hot, sweaty mess, all dusty and dirty. Like, and he was like waiting to jump into that lake. He could smell the water, but they run into these guys. They're like, accusing them of being brigands, whatever. And this other guy, so they find out the names, right? Carrie, you have some info on all of these men. The first guy, was who are you? Giant, and it's who's the grumpy face?
Peak.
Yeah, Peak. Peekaboo.
Gorman Peak. And
Gormy.
And
And
Let's see what
then
else.
this night they called
John
the
the Fiddler.
fiddler. He comes up,
Yes.
John the Fiddler, and he's very impressed with Dunk and wants him to come along with them. I would love to cross swords with you, sir. I've tried men of many lands and races, but never one of your size. Was your father large as well? Okay.
Mhm.
I made
Things
no
start
never mind.
getting weird.
The first
Things start-
read through, okay? I didn't think twice about these lines. I just thought he was like,
I actually did. I caught on. I was proud of
did
myself.
you?
Yes.
Second time through, and probably with Cece's help. I wrote in the sideline, hot. Hot.
Yeah, because he
'Cause,
also says something about
What a
well,
surprise, Moni.
yeah. Well, you know, the stuff I have about, I didn't write down much about Peak, so Cece's gonna have to help us out with that one. I did write a bunch about John the Fiddler.
Yes, and then he's like, so he says, well, we should
He
invite him
also
along.
says, oh, well, he makes Alan Cockshaw, the three-feathered one, apologize. And what hedge knight does this? And one of the other things he says that started like getting me thinking was let's see. He asked about his dad, and he says he's sad to hear it about Dunk's father. His own was taken from him too soon. And then about the rumor that he's gay, there was the thing about try my lance with you, but I don't think we're to that part.
That's later. So they say, did it in your research? Did it say anything about the rumors or no?
Yeah, it did. He's Damon Blackfire.
Right,
John
right.
the Fiddler. Yes. He and Alan Cockshaw have a close relationship, and that's why he acts like he does with Dunk. He gets jealous if I said that.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm doing a few things at once. They had a very close relationship growing up.
Oh, cool.
John the Fiddler has prophetic dreams. He and Alan were bullied by his older brothers. He dreamt that a dragon would be born at White Walls. He dies at White Walls. So spoiler, sorry.
Yes. Well, so
now this one was Peak's plan, what's going on now, but Aegor Bittersteel, he didn't think much of it. He mistrusted Damon's dreams, or possibly was just troubled by his homosexuality and didn't give any support. So this is not something that the Blackfires are really a part of at all. It's just Damon trying to start something, and Peak. The thing about Peak, yeah, he's the dude who killed Roger of Pennytree at the battle on the Redgrass Field.
He's the one with the orange field and with the three black castles.
Right, but he lost two because he fought for the Pretender, and then I'm starting to remember it now from the Pretender or the Blackfires, and Daeron took two of his castles away, and it was like Dunstony and a couple other places. But anyway, go ahead.
So this hedge knight, like, he wants him to come along, and he's like, oh, because, you know, come on, we should ask Sir Duncan to join our jolly company. And everybody else is like, for what? No way. And they're like, his sword. And he's just like, we want strong men. Young swords are worth more than old names. I've often heard it said. And then that's when Gorby says, by fools, you know less and little of this man. He might be a brigand or one of Lord Raven's spies. And this finally, I love this part. Dunk stands up for himself. He's like, I'm no man's spy.
Yeah.
And the Lord has no call to speak to me as if I were deaf or dead or down in Dorne. And he's like, go to Dorne for all I care. It's kind of like
Another
okay.
thing that started cluing me into the John the Fiddler is that he has fought with men of many lands and races. And I was like, oh, he's not from Westeros. And I don't know if there's any significance in his arms that he picked. Does anybody
No,
have
but
an
he doesn't.
opinion
But you know
on
what?
that?
He doesn't say he's fought with them. He said, "I've tried men. I've tried
Oh,
men of many
there you
lands
go. Okay.
and races, but never one your size." What? Little
That is
forward
the
there.
best excuse.
Like, oh my gosh. So, and then another time, well, perhaps another day, I'd love to try my lance on you. And that's
Yeah, there it is.
when he's like riding off, and there they go. And like Dunk is like, oh gosh, what would I even do around those guys? They've got like cooks and
Yeah.
guys to like set up their tents and squires and blah 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 blah. So
And
he was
he
just
has
like, no, that's all right, bye.
I think it's
Yeah,
important to
and he's
note that
got eggs.
this is like one of the reasons why he turns out to be such a good king in regards to protecting the people, because he knows the attitudes of the people that are in the court. And he knows that all they care about is names.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
And their lances. Yeah.
Right. But like, yeah, so it's the old names. And then, well, in that last comment when right before they ride off, where he's just like, oh, and perhaps we'll meet again someday. I hope so. I should love to try my lance on you. And then it's like Dunk did not know what to say to that.
Right. Like he took it as, I can't believe these highborn guys are asking me to come to, there's Laurie, to come ask me to join them.
Well, then I have my other
have more in common with their
my other
cooks.
Yeah, he didn't really like the Lord's Lord Allen's arrogance, or the other guy.
Jealous.
He was sour, but he said the fiddler had been pleasant enough, but there was something odd about him as well. But, not very PC. But that's only after I had the clues from Cece. Before that, I just thought he was because I thought like this guy, he's more than he appears, let's just say. Like it was just like he seems to be pretty forward for being the hedge knight in this little group, like traveling with the Lord. So I thought that was curious as well, but I didn't know that he was really hitting on him the first time I read it through. Cece had to straighten me out.
Yeah. We always have conversations with Cece when we're reading this. She's our
all the
time. So 2 fiddles and 2 swords. I thought the fiddles might have to do with talking about it to other people, but so Duncan asks about the heraldry, the Gorman Peak, and this is when he remembers who he is, if they're kin to House Frey, and Egg rolls his eyes and what the Frey arms are. Did you see a bridge? Like, such a little smart ass. And Dunk thinks he does that just to annoy me. And here's another, I'll clout you in the ear so hard they'll roll back into your head for good. He keeps coming up with new things, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, to clout you in the ear.
I'll whack you across the lake. I'll make your eyes roll back. Yeah.
Okay. So Egg's
but he doesn't really do it though, John. So that's a good thing. I mean, he doesn't beat him very often.
Just the first few hundred times.
Right. He's only hit him once in the stories that I remember, and that was outside Rohan's.
And that was a half a hit, a half a clout.
That was enough.
Yeah. Okay. There's Laurie.
Hooray!
Laurie.
Hi.
I love how.
Can you hear me?
Yay.
Yes.
Hi. So excited to share space with you for the first time. Sorry I'm late. Just had a lot of, we had the storm. Everybody here is safe.
Good.
You survived Isai 2020.
Isai, yes.
Isai, yes. Oh, sorry.
I just saw it on the TV and didn't really pay attention into how to say it. I've had so much Dunkin' Egg and other stuff going through my head that, you know, just to make sure I have all this down. So
well, now they're heading into cow country, is what we like to call it, in the burbs. So
well, Dunk feels, well, he says he feels stupid, but he's also like, oh great, because Peak lost 2 of his castles because he fought for the Black Dragon, and Dunk's like, that again.
Well,
you
know, what he says, yeah, but what he says was like, how did he has 3 castles? Like, what do you need with 3 castles? And he's like, well, he only has 1 now. And he's like, well, how do you lose 2? How do you lose 2 castles? And I get that, like, poor Dunk. And he's like, oh, well, they were taken away. So it's like, ooh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. And then it goes into basically the whole first rebellion. Blah blah.
Well, so anyways, they were talking about the tournament and they wanted to invite him, and like, of course, now he's got it in his head. So he's kicking it around and he's like, well, maybe we'll take a detour instead of going up like just straight to the wall. Maybe we'll head off this way. Because if I win 2 trials, I can ransom the second, and we can eat like kings for a year. And this is all inner dialogue. So now he kind of breaks it to Egg, and Egg's like, wait, you're not thinking about like doing the tourney. And he's just like, well,
he read his mind.
Yeah, maybe he's like, well, might be it's time. And he's like, it's not, sir. It's
right.
No, it's not. I've seen you practicing. No, let's just keep going. But he does pretty good. So of course
here.
Of course, Dunk doesn't listen to him, and there they go. They're heading towards this little inn here, which this is a mystery inn too. What is it called?
I was just going to ask if ever anyone knew the name of this one.
It used to be like the Kneeling something that I heard on the way.
Oh, then that's way north. If it's the Kneeling one, if that's the one, then that's on a river, not a lake.
Okay, well, this is definitely on the lake. And Laurie, listening to that Radio Westeros, it's pretty much the same one that Arya sees in A Clash of Kings, or that she, you know, when she goes through the tunnel under the barn, and the lake's there.
I think I saw.
She describes the lake on pilings.
Oh yeah, right. The copper comment. Is that what you meant?
We were talking about that.
I was listening. Yeah. I was listening earlier.
Okay.
And Branwick commented maybe
it was like
it's
a
from like
question. I don't have a comment on it either. It is really. I mean, there's definitely comparisons with just Egg and Arya in general. I feel like it might just be another one of those ways for us to connect them, just character wise. Maybe there's more. I don't see it, but that's as far as I can get it now.
They're both, you know, grew up in castles.
Since we're with John, it doesn't look like anything.
Okay, Cece'll have the answer. It's rumored to be the dragon in. Okay. Let's see. So that's when he remembers about Roger Pennytree. It was 16 years ago. The pretender died, and all those who followed him were exiled or forgiven. Anyway, it doesn't have anything as not to do with me. And they do talk about Lord Butterwell at this point. Master of Coin for King for King Aegon. He had one son, and Plum talks about this later. He had one son fight for the Loyalists and one for Blackfyre. He never fought. Master of Coin for Aegon IV and King Daeron, but when it was Daeron's hand, he was replaced by Lord Hayford, who either he killed or I have that wrong. He has no heirs. The dragon's gift was from Aegon because he deflowered his 3 daughters in one night. He has a child from his first unknown wife. He had 3 sons with Frey, and one of them is Tom Heddle, which I definitely believe is kin with Masha Heedle and that inn. Their family runs it. Do y'all remember Masha Heedle?
No, tell me.
It's ringing
They don't-
bells.
With the red teeth.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
it-
The
Pattern
sour
of the
leaf.
book and show her on the show. It shows her briefly on the
Okay.
on the
I did not catch the beginning, so I'm sorry if I'm like backtracking, but you just reminded me of
Oh.
Bennis from the last one with the red teeth.
Yes.
In the beginning of this story, did you notice, like, have you guys been picking up how Dunk, as we travel along with him, is such a good learner? I just love Dunk. Like, he's so young and impressionable, but like he picks up on phrases
Yeah.
and words, and he does learn, and he totally phrased Bennis where he was like, there are lords and there are lords. Remember, that was like from the Sworn Sword. Bennis said that to him, and he said it in this one. He does that a lot. Dunk.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sorry, you just made me think of that with the red teeth.
He takes the good advice and the good things that people do, and then he puts those
And
into
it comes
practice
off so wise
for
about it.
himself. Yes. His lands are on the far side of the lake, Lord Butterwell. And then I went through all of that, and Dunk asks if he's a friend of Maker, who never liked him. And then he talks about how he had one foot in one camp, one in the other. He never fought. And Dunk's like, well, some might call that prudent, smart. You know, do it. And about him and proud and I do some of it, but for it's a lot over years. How to there's and use and Kings Road and one guest owns next near longer have a that
Carrie, you're breaking up a bit.
Yeah, I think she dropped off.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. I was just checking to make sure it wasn't me. So we lost Carrie for a second, but there are lots of storms around. So hopefully that's
I'm
all.
sure
So she'll be back. And she has the power. So once again, our heroes are at the inn, and it looks like the ferryman is taking the first party across, the lords across, and so he asks, they smell something delicious, and so he asks like if he could maybe how much, if it wouldn't be too much, what are you serving, and could we get some of that? And she's just like, no. The innkeeper kind of cracked me up. She's like, that's just for
Those are
my
guests.
She ain't
Yeah,
got
for my-
time for them.
Yes. No. And then he really screws up. Because he's like, well, maybe can we have a place on your stable to bed for the night? And she's like, what? He's like, that was a mistake. She's like, the stables are for horses, and you're as big as a horse, I'll grant you that. But yeah, no. I won't have any lords saying that I was running for short of food and drink for my guests. So get out of here. And then she kind of tells him, you know what, go find those hedge knights, like if that's what they are. They're down taking a stump down around the lake. So and then get back to me. And there's plenty of fish in the lake. So go,
no getting back to
basically
me.
go away.
Get away.
Right. And he talks about how expensive it's going to be. It's 10 copper.
It's 36, 6 and 30 all together. Yeah, it's 10 for each animal. and then 3
6
for each of
Oh,
them.
3 for them. Okay. And that was even from the last time when they.
Mhm.
Sounds like a pretty good deal.
Yeah, but it was a lot
Yeah.
cheaper the last time, so he's kind of bummed out. He's like, "Oh no, that's like quite a bit more." She's
wonder
like,
how-
"Pick it up with Ned." Go away,
Yeah.
go away, Giant.
I got
Go
work
away,
to
Giant.
Have
'Cause,
any of you
and
ever
she's full.
discussed? Do you think that Dunk is from the Strong family?
Oh,
It has been
I-
discussed.
Yes. How? I haven't looked into it, John, but if he
I
ends
honestly
up
don't
ended up
know.
an
I
orphan,
definitely caught that. I definitely caught that video. That was it. Was it Joe Magician and Amanda did maybe like last year?
Cool.
But I watched it when it came out, but I haven't watched it since. Well, not that I haven't watched it since, I just haven't watched it in probably like a couple of months. But I remember when they spelled it out, I was just like, I have nothing to argue against this. Like, this is really well thought out, makes a lot of sense. I like the connections with the Mountain and the Hound too.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of
Yes.
people that are that big, including Robert Baratheon, which a lot of people don't think of because of Mark Addy's kind of short. But
Mhm. You're right.
it really could have been a lot of people, but I just didn't know if you had discussed it.
Oh, yeah, because also in the last story, Rohan Weber is like, "Are you as strong as you look?" Little comment like that.
Notice that. I'm just not
So I
familiar
think it
with
came
how
up then
strong. It's
too.
something I've never really gone into. So, I mean, I know
Cece says,
that Tybert
"Yeah."
makes
Cece
the
says all
guy
the
named
time.
Robert Strong, but are they Stormland's house? Are they the Reach? I'm not. We don't have to go into the whole thing right now. Maybe another time. Strongs are from the First Men. Okay.
Didn't mean to distract you. I just thought it was.
No,
an
you're
interesting-
not.
No,
No,
it's
you're
great.
not
That's
at
why you're
all.
here.
No, I love it.
It's
John,
just
yeah.
something I don't know enough about, so that's why I didn't bring it up. But I should have asked
we're
you
having a
guys.
book
Ooh.
Yeah, the mountain was at the end was called Robert Strong, and so
I remember that. Yeah.
that was from the House Strong, and that's one of the reasons why he wasn't as recognized as the mountain. But anyway,
Right.
So the Luca Moore Strong parallels are so solid. I'm gonna have to get schooled by Cece on that as well.
Yeah.
Because I know nothing.
I don't really either.
I like how she used the word solid in there.
Yeah.
Very solid.
Yes. Yes.
Luca Moore the Lusty, right? Same guy.
Yeah. And
Lord,
I'm not
pick up
familiar.
on
I have threads in my brain, but I'm just so tired. I can't.
I know.
Couldn't even tell you what color the
I think
threads
the
are.
full moon's affecting things because I felt that way today too. And I'm having another toast for Moni's birthday.
Yeah,
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Moni.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Cheers. What I saw t-shirt moment. John, any moment that you find that you in the text where you would want to put that on a t-shirt, I often do. Like I should open up a t-shirt shop. Because one of the ones coming up here was one more word and you'll eat my fist. I think because basically
I think my wife says that first thing in the morning just for giggles.
just for S&Gs. Excuse me.
Oh goodness.
Because excuse me, he's talking about eating his boots, and this isn't about just his boots
Of
in
an
general,
egg,
but,
yeah.
and so he's like, if you bring that up again, like, because he's like, no, we're not eating here. We're moving on. Put some water on the salt beef, but not the one from the trough that you're.
I don't want to taste your feet.
And he's like, it might give it a little flavor.
Can only improve the taste. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wants to eat his boots instead of the salt beef because it's so tough.
And make new boots out of the salt beef.
Yeah, exit like the 7th inning stretch of his like adventures in Westeros. He needs a break.
Yeah, I guess I know. He's like, I
Yes.
just want a pillow and a bed. He's like, ooh, a feather bed, like John said. He's like, no, a straw will be all right, but a pillow would be
A
nice. And he's
pillow.
like, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, my little princeling. So then they wander off,
They
and
head
and he's like,
down.
well, which way are the hedge knights? And so they find them. So they're down by, and instead of
Egg
sneaking
sees
up
their
on them, he
fire.
announces himself really loud. So, hey, good morrow. It's not good
Mm-hmm.
to sneak up on people who are armed. And that's true.
Yes.
What's true back then
There's
is true
another
today.
t-shirt.
Don't sneak up if they're armed. Just announce yourself.
Everybody, comments on how big he is. And so there's the
Poor
stout
thing, and he's
man,
been hearing that his whole life.
garbed in tattered finery, and he has ginger whiskers. Egg, what sort of name is that? And he just says a short one. and Dunk's going, tell him rootworms, tell him rootworms. That was the safest story. And I started wondering if that was some kind of like mange, because there is one that dogs have that humans can't get, and you can see little like alligator things if you squeeze the pore and look under the microscope. I used to be a vet tech, and it causes all their hair to fall out and stuff. Lori just sent me a text. I think but that's one humans can't get. So, her laptop died. Oh, okay.
Oh, rats.
Let's see. And so we have this guy. We don't know his name yet. Egg says he shaved his head off, and he means to stay shaven until he earns his spurs or becomes a knight. Is that part of becoming a knight, or is that something that happens before?
Getting your spurs.
Yes.
Getting your spurs, I think.
That's how you
become a knight. Okay.
It's like you're awarded the spurs.
What I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it's funny because his
Kyle
name is Kyle the cat from where
more.
Yeah.
And the other guy that they first spoke with was Sir Glendon, and he says, Ball. I don't know if he's hesitating or what he's doing. And then the good Sir Maynard Plum. And immediately Egg's like, oh, are you kin to Lord Viserys Plum? And I did write a little bit of backstory on that.
Oh, yes, please.
Find it.
Well, quickly, while you're looking that up, Maynard Plum comes back and says, oh, but I'm of the sour. Like, yes, we're distant kin, but he's the sweet and I'm the sour plum. And what I had looked up earlier was a plum was basically it's a old it's a old-fashioned color more, and
it's a royal color for royalty.
It for sure is.
Let's
see. No. Okay, there. Where's all my plum? Oh, there, Sir Plum, and he has a big moonstone amulet, and the meaning in colors purple and violet represent the future, the imagination, and old-fashioned color plum is honorable and linked to family traditions. So I thought that was interesting.
And I'm not gonna copy anything from Radio Westeros, and actually I didn't hear it there. I read it somewhere that that brooch is like an eye, which I thought was a cool way to look at it.
Yes, the moonstone. I also looked that up, and that had the different the different color ones have different meanings. So the blue or cat's eye moonstone promotes clarity of the mind, inner vision, and keeps you focused on meditative or altered states of awareness. It is particularly helpful in seeing emotional patterns and life lessons and in balancing your yin and yang energies. A gray moonstone is perceived as beyond the veil and used
That's interesting.
Useful for clairvoyance and shaman and moving in the unseen realms. It's also called a new moonstone and carries the mystery and powers of the new moon where all things exist as potential. And the white moonstone carries energy of the new moon at its height of power, stimulating psychic perceptions,
Perfect for him.
vision and dream work, and can magnify one's emotions. So I thought those were kind of interesting little tidbits
Perfect for him.
on our moonstone, because that was the first thing I thought of, Carrie, when they were talking about it, because it's supposed to be pretty big, was that it was like an eye.
A hen's egg size,
and
or
we're all
like
kind of
that.
nervous about the eye, right? Like, because 1001 always watching.
Yeah. So what I did write, Ossifer Plum, and Cece, I think he's the one rumored to have the 6-inch penis, died while he was supposed to be bedding his wife, Elena Targaryen. He just had a heart attack, arrhythmia. I don't know what happened to the dude, aneurysm. She did conceive, but it was probably by Aegon the Fourth, because back then it still was left up to the king or the liege lord to have first rights or whatever with the wife before the husband did. And I also wrote that Brown Ben Plum from A Dance of Dragons with Daenerys is a descendant of an unknown Plum and a Dothraki and an Ibanez, and I'm probably missing someone, but I don't have a whole lot of history on the Plum family except for that. And Heidi, that is so cool. I did not know that about Tyrion. That is very interesting.
I didn't either. I thought that was cool too. I did not know. Ooh,
Wait,
Heidi, I think we can talk colors all day long, because I love it. I love colors and meanings and textures and all that stuff. So I know that's your thing. So, and purple dye comes from
the video is really good. So there, he says distantly, yeah, he's the sour plum. We talked about the brooch, and he's wearing the purple cloak. Elsewise, he's dressed pretty simply. Dunk says we have salt beef, and Sir Maynard has a bag of apples, and they have pickled eggs and onions, and together they have the makings of a feast. We have a fine choice of stumps for your comfort. We will be here until mid-morning. There's only the one ferry, and it's not big enough to take us all. And the lords and all of their people are going to cross first, and when there's already some waiting in the inn. So they're going to have the stump is probably the same area that Jaime was in, and oh goodness, is it A Feast for Crows or before that, A Storm of Swords, that he has the dream about Brienne and the bear and all the other guys. He's underneath Casterly Rock. Oh, Dark's so good. Oh, yes. We're going to talk about that at some point. Sorry to divide. I was looking at the chat.
It's all good. So then they start talking about all the different stuff that's going to be there too. Or are you there yet? The Warrior Hates Cravens. That was another T-shirt of mine. The Warrior Hates Cravens. I love it.
Well, I just get to
even
there,
sour wine is better than none.
Yeah, back and forth. Lord Butterwell has the finest wines north of the Arbor. King's Hand, pious man and very rich, and then Maynard, his wealth is all from cows, and he like basically refers, or well, I can't think of the word I'm trying to say, but implies, thank you, that they stole all the cows, and that's how they became rich.
Ooh, there's the
yeah, and the phrase are no better. This will be a marriage of cattle thieves and toll collectors. One lot of coin clinkers joining with another. When the Black Dragon rose, the Lord of Cows sent one son to Daemon and one to Darren. So George keeps repeating all of this about the
Isn't that something they do right now? Throw milkshakes on people when they get mad at it? Like, isn't that a controversy thing? Like, don't they throw milkshakes? So it's like toll collector and like milkshake. That's a thing. Like, I don't know what exactly it is. It's like,
when I watched Glee, they would throw slushies on the geek kids. So
wow, that's super mean because that stuff dies.
write down their shirts and stuff. Yeah.
So then
It's hard to believe the same guys that do American Horror Story do that show. But so he has no sons left. Butterwell doesn't. And
Butterball.
Butterball, and his youngest died in the spring sickness. So he's making a new marriage, and unless his wife gives him a son, the name Butterwell will die with him. As it should. Sir Glendon Ball is still like stroking, sharpening his sword. The warrior hates cravens. There's your t-shirt. And this like makes Dunk like give him a closer look, and he notices his clothes. They're well worn and they don't match, and they look kind of like hand-me-downs, and the tufts of dark hair. He was short and chunky.
Young.
Yes.
He's young. He's like 16 or at the most 18.
Mm-hmm.
But he's his pimples and like no whiskers. And then that little
his pimples instead of whiskers.
Yeah. Glendon, like he kind of really gets his prickles up, and because Dunk asks him, "How long have you been a knight?" And he's like, "Long enough. Half a year when the moon turns."
Later on in the story, he brings up Morgan Dunstable a whole lot of times because he was the knight who knighted him. Now, supposedly to become a knight, it doesn't say it was Sir Morgan Dunstable, but he sold his sister's maidenhead to was that right? Am I saying that backwards? To an unknown knight.
That's way later when they're discussing.
Okay.
But that's how he gets. That's how because they do question it then later at the tourney as well. Like this kid, he's pretty cocky, and then he says, I rode.
They don't believe he's who he is. Fireball's son.
Funny. Well, they nobody knows that yet, but he was just like, I was knighted by Sir Morgan Dunstable of the Timber Falls. 24 people saw it. I have been training for knighthood since I was born. I rode before I walked. I knocked out a grown man's tooth out of his head before I lost any of my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean to make my name at White Walls and claim the dragon's egg. And there's a what? Huh? So that's the big prize at this tourney. A dragon's egg.
So Glendon Ball's father, Quentin, had sex with a camp follower, Penny Jenny, and it was rumored that she had had sex with tons of guys before this was the eve of the battle. She became known as Redgrass Jenny. Quentin Ball could easily have, this is something else I wrote, and it was from Radio Westeros, which is something I was like, duh, why didn't I think about that? That Bloodraven could have, he could have easily, Fireball could have been murdered by Bloodraven the eve before.
We're losing you again, Karis. So
she's doing it on purpose.
So basically, they're sitting around. So okay, like so this guy, he's like he thinks he's all that, and I thought there you might find good service there. Oh, so Kyle the Cat's plan is he wants to joust Joffrey Caswell, Lord of Bitterbridge. He made a first sword. He carved it for him out of pine. There's that pine wood again, and it fit into his hand. In my greener days, my sword was sworn to his father, and here's another yuck. Maynard Plum, was that carved for him in pine as well? It's like, ooh, these boys around their campfire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so he said, well,
a lot of chitter chatter.
the sword was good steel, I assure you. So that's his plan, that he's gonna get knocked off and hopefully get that knight to ask him to in service him again. But he's like, this is going to be super fun, Sir Duncan. Even if you don't choose to do the tilt, join us for the wedding feast. There'll be singers and musicians and jugglers and tumblers and a troupe of comic dwarfs. Okay. And then I said, is Kyle in on it? Kyle the cat. I had a friend when I went to school out in New Mexico, and we called him El Gato. Cat. It was we called him El Gato.
It reminds me of Family Guy, the cilantro singer. Un gato, no es bueno. And then he likes the dog, though. Yeah, that's pretty funny. I'm really okay. Go ahead. I was just gonna complain about my internet.
So Maynard was. Dunk said, "Well, Egg and I have a long journey before we go. We were headed towards Winterfell to see Lord Baron Stark, who's gathering swords to drive away the Krakens off the shores for good." And and Maynard says right away, "Ooh, too cold for me up there. If you want to kill Krakens, you should go west." Yeah. Which I kind of noticed throughout this story that Maynard's kind of like I think this is the first time that he's trying to steer him away from this party. But the other guys all want him to join. Like Kyle the cat wants him there. That fiddler guy wants him there for sure.
He already knows who Dunk is and Egg. Yeah.
What, Sir Maynard?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. So then they start talking some smack about. They start dishing out tea about Egg's dad. Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
I just wanted to throw in that Dunk doesn't want to fight on water anymore, but when Sir Kyle goes into it's King Aerys hiding among books, Rhaegal prancing around naked, Prince Maker sulking at Summerhall, and Bloodraven's doing nothing, but Maynard takes up for Bloodraven because he has his eye fixed on Tyrosh and he keeps King's Landing ships at hand. And I wrote down, I think he knew Daemon had come and he was waiting for an invasion like Fagon. And this is a little diss at Bloodraven, but in my opinion, he's more worried about holding power than helping the people in Westeros at this point. Because he's got Aerys is not a good king. Rhaegal's not going to be a good one. Why doesn't he have Maker helping more with things? Even if it's on the small council or whatever. Or Maker's just refusing to go because he's still sulking.
Could it be just as right? Well, they say he's sulking, but could it be that Bloodraven? I'm all about the glass candles. And hexing people so. I mean, is it we don't know. King Aerys, he's in his books. He's off, and it doesn't care about what the people and everybody else is doing their own thing too. But that just occurred to me. It's just well, maybe Bloodraven. That's part of his trixies. I don't know, because we know from the last story that the kingdom kind of thinks that Maker is brooding in Summerhall because he didn't get to be handed the king when his brother was named king. So, and now we know this Butterball also was handed the king before, right? So he's
yes. Hey, who has?
Sorry, is that my phone? Can you hear it?
I can hear it. Who has Weirwood Dreams, John?
Talk about
Maynard.
Bloodraven.
Okay.
Bloodraven.
Okay. All right.
With the visions of who Duncan is.
Gotcha. Okay.
And his future.
Yeah, and Sir John too. So we are getting. All right. There's a picture, Moni. If you want, I think you already put it up. I'm sorry, I get sidetracked tonight. I'm really losing my train of thought. I apologize. Is it Ball that says Bloodraven is the root of all our woes? Oh, that's Sir Kyle. Many would welcome the return of Bittersteel. Bloodraven is the root of all our woes, the white worm gnawing at the heart of the realm. And then Dunk remembers the hunchback Septon, and he's like, yeah, man, words like that can cost a man his head. Some might say you're talking treason. And Kyle's like, well, how can the truth be treason? In King Darren's day, a man did not have to fear to speak his mind, but now, and he makes a rude noise. I can't imagine what it would be. And then he goes into Eris being weak, and it will end up being a bloody war between Lord Rivers and Prince Maker, the hand against the air. And that's when Egg pretty much jumps in. Wait, not yet. Oh, Maynard does says, have you forgotten Prince Rhaegal? His children too. He's the third son of Darren. Kyle thinks, okay, I'm sorry. That Bloodraven's going to get him and his twins, Aelor and Aelora, and he has another child, Daenora. She marries Aerion Brightflame. So that was just a little throwback on that with Rhaegal and his children. And when they're talking about them dying or whatever from a mace or Bloodraven spells, Dunk's like, 7 save us. And then Egg speaks out. He can't.
Well, yeah,
it's like how long can you be quiet? Let's play the quiet game.
But he did good for a little bit. He was just poking the fire and the sparks are flying up.
Till his daddy got mentioned. And Prince Maker is Prince Rhaegal's brother. He loves him well. He never do harm to him. And Dunk's like, be quiet. These knights don't want your opinions. I can talk if I want. That's my t-shirt. No, Dunk said, you can't. That mouth of yours will get you killed someday, and me as well, most like. And that's some big foreshadowing for later on in the story. Dunk tells him to get the hard beef that's been soaking in the helm. And he sees, as only a boy of 11 years can seethe. Talks about his head and shining. It just makes the meat taste turn from wood to leather. So dusk comes, and the midges, the only way to keep from being bitten by them is to sit close to the fire, breathing smoke, cook or be devoured. Now there's a beggar's choice.
I love that one too.
Yeah, me too. The wineskin comes around again. Dunk drank deep, passed it along, while Cat of the Misty Moor began to talk about how he saved the life of Lord of Bitterbridge, during the Blackfire Rebellion. And he says, I leapt from my horse with traitors all around us. And Glendon Ball's like, who are these traitors? And he's like, oh, the Blackfire men. I meant, like, these are some serious Blackfire supporters that Dunk and Egg have gotten in the mix with. And
I totally put a note on the side there. It was like politics because oh man, it's another low point again. We're gonna start talking about what color dragon you support, and then it was like, ooh, I put on the side, this is tense. Like you could see that every sinew was tight. It's a crossbow. It's like, my father fought against the black dragons. This is Sir Glendon's hand. And they're like, and that's when Dunk is like, oh, this again. No.
I think that's the third time he's thought that. Might be the second, but
and then
he's just like, God, get over it,
Yeah.
So and then he tries to make peace.
Yeah, I don't think Kyle meant any like ill towards your father. It always made for trouble. Like Dunk is a little diplomat, and then Kyle agrees. He's like, nope, it's an old tale. The red dragon and the black. No sense to fight about it now, lad. We're all brothers of the hedge here. And
yes.
I love Miss Cece is giving us all kinds of scoop over there in the chat.
I know it. She's the chat monitor.
And Damon was no traitor, is what Glendon goes off.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Nope, go ahead. He was worthy, and he. Why else? Oh, basically, it's the whole thing about the sword again. Like, that's who his dad meant to be the king. Why else would he have given him Blackfire? And
Egg recognizes him.
yep, and
as
he
the
knew,
Fireball son.
and he knew that he would be the better man. Right? Did he already say that? Yes. No, not. It was
Mhm.
the next page. I think he's like, "Oh, you're." Or maybe it was before that. Oh yeah, it is where he's like, "You're fire," but
Mhm.
that's the only time they saw him smile was when
Right.
he's just like, you finally, because he turned his shield around and it had a big fiery fireball,
Mhm.
which I was going
Mhm.
to try to get some fireball and do some cinnamon whiskey shots for y'all in toast, but I
Whatever's good for your birthday.
but my tummy said no thanks, so we're just doing some blue. Woo!
Kyle's prophecy comes true. The ferry wasn't big enough to accommodate everyone who wished to cross. So Costain and Shawnee. Costain was the one with the feathers, and I guess John's with him. They're going to go first with their tails, and that requires several trips, each taking more than an hour. And there's mud flats they can get caught on, and horses and wagons, and just a big cluster of stuff going on. And it's like, hey, build another ferry. You can make more money even doing that too. Well,
because
all
it's
right,
just
here's
a
a question for
long
you, John.
process. Like they have to deal with the mud flats on the other
Mhm.
side, trying to get. Then they have to put the planks down for the animals to cross over, and then they have to unload it all. And it's just
Yes.
a real slow process. It's a day.
And they get
it's
in
a
a
day
fight,
trip.
an actual shouting match, because Shawnee's the elder, but Costain tells himself to be better born about who's going to go first.
Yes, that's all very, very important. And then like rebel lords, and I have another Dunk frowned at him. What do you mean? And he just, because all these guys, he's like, well, because once again, Egg breaks up about his boot. Well, we could go first if I just bring out my boot. And he's like, ugh, shut up about, and he's just like, no, these guys are lords and they were here first. And he's like, rebel lords? Like, you, that little Egg. He's like, hold your tongue. And then he actually pinches his little mouth. Like, no, seriously, quit talking about it. Do not mention about he starts talking about his egg here pretty soon too, right?
Yes. John has a question.
I'll show you all at White Walls when we claim the dragon egg. Ooh,
yes. Yes.
Sorry, here's another picture. Go ahead, John.
I don't have a question. I'm just responding to Lori's question.
That's what I
which is
meant.
pretty cool.
Sorry.
Oh, Lori has a question. What is it? I didn't see it.
So she asked me, do you have an opinion if Daemon Blackfire should be king? Do you think Daeron wasn't Aegon IV's son? I'm assuming that's what she meant, but my response basically was I'm not much of a Targaryen supporter, and I definitely don't like the monarchies very much. I think it shouldn't be, but in this particular case, I definitely think Daemon should have been king, just because of the way the story's told.
Cece loves you now.
But
it's you were on the rocks in the chat. She's like, I will judge you based on your answer.
It's a tough question because it's all how the story is being told. You don't know the truth.
I mean, well,
and so
do you think
we have to believe
of succession, or you just feel like he's a better leader, Daemon?
Yeah, it's more of a better leader. Yeah, definitely less of a coward.
So you think that Aerys is Aerys, right? That doesn't sound like. Yeah, is he like? Oh yeah.
Don't ask me to go back into the history, but there is the rumor that he was the bastard son of Daenerys and Daemon. if I have that
we
correct,
did.
or
We
Daenerys
did.
and Daemon. Yeah, John, I'm learning a lot of Targaryen history reading these books. So,
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness gracious,
it's like reading Fire and Blood. You just
which I haven't
have to
finished.
reread like 6,000 times before you can actually get a
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
really understanding. I'm so jealous of people that have been able to read it and
Read it.
understand
Me
the
too.
Get it.
progression, because I'm just like, wow.
Yes.
Because
Very
why do they have to all
confusing.
have the same stupid names that sounded like and married their brothers and sisters? Come on.
I actually got Robert to buy me a new notebook for when I start it, because if I write it down, that'll help me.
It would have been a lot more entertaining if they would have just let Mushroom write the whole book
That's what I
instead,
keep hearing. I haven't read about Mushroom, but I'm
because then it would have
definitely
been
looking
like,
forward to
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So, and I thought it was significant here where they all like break off because the Fellowship of the Hedge Knights did not last throughout the night. So the next day, while they're waiting to get their ride across, they kind of break off and talk. Like Glendon kind of stays by himself, prickly and sullen, and Kyle the cat went over and talked to Lord Smallwood, kind of trying to hustle a job. And then Maynard spent his time gossiping with the innkeep. So that made me think that maybe Kyle the cat is just what he says he is. Like he's a hedge knight trying to just get some work. But Plum, I'm suspect of him and him talking
I
to
think he's
that
getting
innkeeper.
info.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was pretty interesting as well.
Because
And then
the Costains are there, and the Shawnees, which both fought for the Blackfires, been staying there all night. So some talking's been going on. Oh yeah, we forgot to mention the line Maynard says, like, I don't know who says we were probably all Aegon the Fourth's bastards, and he's like, well, who's to say we're not?
Yeah, we
I was
all
way
are.
back.
He did
Yeah.
get all around. Like the one night, he impregnated 3 of the daughters. Like, isn't that the rumor?
Yeah.
The next day.
Yeah.
He's a very busy guy, So then they start talking. And so he tells him to stay away from that one. Dunk has a feeling about Maynard Plum. He could be a robber knight for all we know. But we all know also
which intrigues Egg even more.
likes the marauders and dragon knights. So but then he starts talking about I never knew a robber knight. Do you think that means they're gonna steal the egg? Oh,
he'll have it well guarded, but Dunk really hopes to see it. And then Egg throws in, "Hey, I'll show you mine." But it's a Summerhall, and they put it in his cradle. Dunk's surprised at first, but that Egg has an egg. It's white, green, and all swirly. And the only other ones they clarify as Arions, and gold and silver with veins of fire, which just sounds absolutely beautiful. And then he said they were laid by the last dragon, so she's just called the last dragon, and she laid a clutch of 5. And then there's more on Dragonstone, but she was green. Died in 153 AC during the Dance of the Dragon in King's Landing. And she laid 5 eggs. And Princess Rhaena, don't ask me who she's married to. Jaharis, maybe, not Jaharis.
One of those brothers.
She started the custom of putting the egg in the cradle. And if there are more on Dragonstone, that means they would have possibly around 15, which is a pretty impressive amount of dragon eggs. And when he describes them as old and hard as stone, it's been back, that always makes Illyrio pop into my head. Given what he says to Daenerys.
Right, like that he had 3. That's a pretty nice gift, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but this is a pretty big prize for a tourney too, for a wedding tournament, right? So
yes,
it's a big deal.
Well, that's what he says. Shows that he's super rich. He's going to give away an egg.
Right.
Well,
I think 30 gold coins to the second place or something like that, or A lot of money. This guy does have a lot of money. So then Egg kind of talks about, he kind of, you go, do you want to read, or do you want to touch on that, or do you want me to? Your dragon egg. Well, just he says, basically he's like, you know, you can't talk about it to anybody, or you know, so nobody hears. He's like, I'm not stupid. But then Egg lowered his voice. Someday the dragons will return. My brother Darren's dreamed of it, and King Ares read it in the prophecy, and maybe it will be my egg that hatches. That would be splendid. And
he and
Dunk's
Aemon
like,
used to dream that. Yeah. And if all the other knights should die, I'd be Lord Commander of the King's Guard.
Shows a passion early in his life of what he wants. In his, you know, he really does want that.
Okay, so thank you, Cece.
And more prophecy.
Harris. Okay. Yes, always. And
like
I definitely.
I thought that was like,
Yeah, and I have read ahead, but they have this tourney fixed. They do. So I think for Daemon, the second to win the egg, but I'm not positive about that. Let's see. So he makes fun of Sir Glendon's horse, and asks what he knows about Fireball. And we've gone into that. He was master at arms at the Red Keep, taught a maker and his uncles how to fight, and the great bastards. He was promised him to raise him to the King's Guard, so he made his wife join the Silent Sisters, which is really, really, really bad thing to do. Really shitty. And
yeah, like, but then he got totally jerked around because they didn't.
Darren didn't give it to him. Yeah. So Maker believes and we've talked about this before, he and Fireball and Aegor were pretty much the ones that were pushing him to rebel. So Darren sends the King's Guard to arrest Fireball, and he gets away. He's at the crossing of the Mander, and I don't know the story of Lady Penrose, except that he leaves the life of one of her sons. Dunk says that was chivalrous of him. And then talks about him dying before the battle. Those common men can be dangerous when they get it in their heads to start slaying lords and heroes. And here comes the fairy. Ed wants to know if they're going to. What now?
Go ahead. That's where, go ahead. You finish up, because then next is the wedding. So.
Oh yeah, we're about to be done.
He's
so. Yeah, are we going to Whitewall, sir? Why not? I want to see the dragon's egg. If I win the tourney, we both have dragon's eggs. And Eggs gives him a doubtful look, and he's like, "What? Why are you looking at me that way?" And Egg says, "I could tell you." He says it solemnly, sadly, but I need to learn to hold my tongue. You know, so poor baby. And I just wrote basically at the end of this.
Why is he waiting until now, though? That's what he's been smart alecky all along.
Right. It's like this time, I think he's just like doing it back to him, because he's just like, wait, why are you looking at me like that?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I could tell you, but I'd have to hold my tongue.
He really wants to say there's no way you're going to win it.
yeah, basically. Yeah.
And I just, they've put themselves in, and they're walking into a pit of snakes. These people are hell-bent on revenge and power. So off on another adventure they go. And excited to get to the next part of it. Who is Henry Percy? What, say that again?
I said it's not a fair game.
No, it's not. It's not at all. And I would say Maynard is not the only one who has figured out who Egg is, Aegon. And Dunk, Lord Underleaf or something, recognizes him. So he's known about the certain areas.
Of course, this tourney is for Butterwell is
Oh
marrying
yeah.
Frey's daughters. And I don't know about you guys, but any talk of any marriage ceremony, because of the other story that we know all too well, purple weddings, red weddings, like, oh,
Yes.
what a wedding? Oh no, not in Westeros. Anywhere
Well,
else.
later on, it's mentioned that the Lady Frey, Butterwell is marrying, has a cousin or a brother, and he's 4, and he falls in a well or something to that effect. And it is like we saw Bridge 4's video about it and how Nan could be a Frey, but it's Walder Frey at this wedding, but he's 4 years old. So
yeah, so because he lives
that's
to
an
be
interesting.
forever, right? Forever.
Pretty much.
Later, like, but we see him and he is kind of that. Even when we see him later, he's just old, and he's got like grandkids that are like old and great grandkids. Like there's so many Walders and Waldas that, and he's
Yes.
obnoxious even then. Like I think they talk about it
Waldron.
next when they see him. Like he's like the worst kid ever. We'll talk about that next week. They hate his laugh and well, whatever. It's but another wedding. So oh no, what could it be? Oh. Like right, because Westerosi
Sorry
weddings
about
are
Yes.
no good.
And
good.
John, do you have anything you want to say about just the little end part that we finished, or the end of the little part we finished?
Really not too much. You've really covered everything line by line. My question to you though is, why is George writing this section? Why do you think he's telling us this story?
Which story? Because he tells a few over and over. Oh, just this.
Just the whole Dunk story in general. I feel like it's to have one good guy, like a real good guy, kind of not in his other stories. Like, you know how he blends. Like I said, there's no black and white. It's like, and how many times have we flip flopped? Like, oh, I hate Cersei, and oh, I feel bad for her. How is that possible? I mean, he's a master at that. But for whatever reason, Sir Duncan the Tall is goodness epitomized. Like, you know, there's no, I don't see, except for the little secret that he's not really a knight. Nobody actually knighted him, but well, nobody knows that. That's between us and the Seven. So, you know, but otherwise, he's like such a good guy, like about everything. Even like last week with Sir Eustace. I mean, he could have totally just been like, yeah, bye. And all of the small folk at, you know, and Sir Eustace and Bennis probably would all be dead now. Like, so, but he intervenes and fights for him even after he told him that he'd got. So like, I think it was just kind of his chance to like write just a good noble character, maybe.
Yeah, it's kind of like a cheat for him to be able to write keep the trope pretty regular instead of reversing the tropes that he uses a lot. And also a way to practice, you know, as he's getting into the writing of the books. That's my thought on it.
What's your take, John?
Mine was simply, you know, he follows Tolkien as far as him being a follower of his writing. And in that story of Lord of the Rings, the ring is what combines the Hobbit with the Lord of the Rings story. And the same thing with this story, we have Bloodraven. And so he has to tell a backstory of Bloodraven. And you're right, the gray characters are definitely something that he loves. And Egg is definitely one of those gray characters because of his passion for the dragons overwhelms him to the point where he doesn't care about the safety of all of his family, you know, literally all of his family. And Dunk being a hero type that is a common person, I think is a part of the story that we definitely had to hear.
Definitely.
Yeah. And his perspective, small folk. That's so cool. Yeah, I'm really enjoying these, and I really think that it's and don't get me wrong, it's not all like sunshine and happiness. I mean, shoot, we've seen a few guys get their heads bashed in now, like in different ways, like
Literally.
really great guys. Yeah, literally, brains coming out, and so tragic. I mean, that's when Lori pointed out that they all needed to hold the door, or I just it's really cool. I like how he's weaving all of like the before and after. And didn't you say what he finished writing these between Feast and
It would be a Clash of Kings, but I'm not sure when they ended.
okay, Clash of Kings.
But so yeah, I'm not sure how the years.
He did come up with, but he was writing he had written the whole history. Robbie mentioned, did The Hobbit come before The Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
And
well,
yes,
I don't know. I'm no expert. I have The Hobbit.
He had kind of written the history. It's funny that you asked that because I had just watched something on this the other day, and he'd written the history, so he had all this lore. But he then he did The Hobbit, like kind of with all his history that he was writing all this lore for, but not doing.
Well, you got to remember he came up with the Silmarillion, which is that's the very first story, even though it wasn't written until after he was dead. But the basis of the story was written when he was in the hospital after he had trench fever. But The Hobbit was first. That was the kid's story. That was published, released, everything. And then they wanted him to come up with another story. So he wanted to link the two, and that's how he used the ring to link the two stories. Of course, they wanted to publish it as 3 books because it was so big. I have a copy behind me of the whole Lord of the Rings in just 1 book. And that's the way he wanted it to be. So, yeah.
Interesting. I need to read the book. I've tried The Hobbit and haven't gotten into it, but there's other things I've tried and need to give another try too.
The Silmarillion is actually the best of all of his work, even though it was published by Christopher, but it was his idea. It was his creation.
Very
That's where he's working out all the language and the history and stuff. It's amazing to me, these writers, authors that have this world in their head, like, right? George as well.
He created 14 different languages.
Really?
For this story.
Wow.
Yeah. Because there's different Elven languages, there's Dwarven language, and humans. Yeah.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Oh, Cece, we love Duncan with you too. Well, all right, guys.
Thank you so much for let me be here. I really do appreciate it. It was
come back. Yeah,
anytime.
I'm so sorry Lori wasn't able to be here.
No,
but, it was a real pleasure.
Next time. Well, thank you. Like, I'm glad she's in the chat.
I won't be here next week. Helping my daughter move into college. So
nice.
Yes.
I remember those days.
But we'll be back on the 18th, I think is the next week. August 18th. So if you want to come back then, John, you're more than welcome to. Love having you on. Okay. And thank you everybody in the chat.
It's so fun seeing you, hanging out with you.
Duncan, yeah, more Robbie, Miss Duncan, Laurie's been in the chat. Oh, come on, you're gonna let me go further than that. Apparently
You want me to read it?
If you want to, go ahead, sure.
So we have obviously Lori Steel 510 Rain, Shade of the Evening, Robbie Warburg, Duncan the Tall, Costume Co. Heidi was here. Carl Nitsky was also here. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope everybody had a good time. I know I did. Yeah,
me too. All right,
it was awesome.
Everybody be safe.
Flew by.
And happy birthday again, Moni.
We'll see you soon.
All right,
thank you. Thanks, guys, for sharing with me. All right, rock on,
All right. Bye.